Hi, Steve Lackmeyer here with the Oklahoman, here with Michael Kimball. I'm the Downtown Development Reporter. Michael is the City Hall Beat Reporter. We've had quite a meeting here tonight. How many would you say were in attendance?
Looked like about 500 people here, probably, and most of the people here seemed to support a 4-lane roadway that was at ground level for as long as possible, but there were a few people here that represented other opinions as well.
In the development community, we've seen a lot of concern expressed about how this boulevard could become another highway bypass, how it could hurt development of the area south of downtown, especially that area around Farmers Market. How big of an issue has this been at City Hall?
Well, it's been a pretty contentious one. It was a topic of discussion at several of the last meetings. There's a lot of discussion at every meeting in the last few months about the boulevard and this project. It was big enough that one of the council members actually had a town hall, was about 2 weeks ago, I guess, a week ago, to discuss it. And it's been one of the topics that is, to we reporters, that we've gotten the most feedback on social media as well.
It's been interesting. I've seen so much reader interest in this topic. There's a plan OKC that's not getting nearly this kind of traffic, is it?
No. People seem to be particularly concerned with this boulevard. It's been a high-profile project for a long time, and now that they're about 2 years out, there's a lot of discussion, and the center of the debate is whether or not the proposed designs for the boulevard is going to spark the kind of development that civic leaders have been looking for.
You know, Michael, it's been quite a number of years since I first started covering this topic. I first got attached to the project back in 1997, and I remember then Mayor Ron Nork coming to me and wanting to bend my ear, and they were very opposed to the alignment that got built. And this boulevard was thrown in as a compromise, as a access road through downtown, but it was a very different time. Film Row was Skid Row. We didn't have Quarter Shore planned at all, no Skydance Bridge, no Quarter Shore Park, no new convention center. Mary Gardens was not being used very much. And so much has changed in terms of development downtown that people are arguing, you know, whatever plan, whatever promises were made a decade ago really don't apply. What are you hearing from the City Council in terms of the importance of sticking with the plans from 1998 through 2002?
I don't know that I've heard a whole lot that's important from them, that we need to stick with those plans old. And it seems like people, the consensus has been, maybe not unanimous, but the consensus has been that it's time to look at the development that's happened. For example, a separate issue, but is a downtown park. When they decided that they were going to have the MAPS 3 downtown park, they didn't really know how awesome the Myriad Gardens was going to turn out. And so that's kind of a microcosm of what the situation has been with downtown. When these plans were laid out a long time ago, people didn't really fully realize how much a development was going to mean, how much was going to take place, and really the transformation that was going to take place downtown. And so I think a lot of people have wanted to kind of refocus the design based on what we know now, which we didn't know 10 years ago.
What comments struck you tonight as kind of being surprising, or ideas, concepts, questions we haven't heard before?
Well, I think one of the most interesting ones came from a small business owner who is concerned that because he leases property that could be near some of the projects we're talking about, how he would be affected. Property owners are compensated when the government has to buy a piece of land, but not necessarily somebody who's leasing that property and going to be kicked out. So as they consider the plans, especially in the western end of the boulevard, which is the most controversial one right now, whether it's going to be raised or there are going to be roundabouts, but there are some lives that are going to be affected by these decisions. Many, we always know there are going to be some affected indirectly, but directly as well by some of these decisions. And I think it's important. It was an important note that was made during the meeting.
One of the things that surprised me was the idea that they could do roundabouts at every intersection. Had you heard that one before?
That was a new one to me as well. It was one of the ones that actually anytime roundabout got mentioned, there was a lot of applause from the crowd. But it seemed encouraging to a lot of people that the line over and over from officials was that they're going to be considering all the options and that there's going to be more opportunities down the road for public comment for most of these decisions. Anyway, this actually was going to be the start of the last period for public comment on whether the roadway is going to be 6 lanes or 4 lanes. And so the next 2 weeks, they're going to be accepting public comments and also taking from a time period longer than that, taking some engineering studies from the city before they present a plan to federal officials to give the thumbs up or thumbs down. But I think it seemed to be encouraging to the people here that officials seem to be taking their viewpoints seriously.
It struck me that the town hall meeting last week, I wrote an OKC Central column today where I kind of described it as a tent revival meeting, lots of cheering, lots of applause. The virtual preacher, John Norquist, former mayor of Milwaukee, just coming short of cursing those who think that there should be a highway going through downtown. Tonight was a little bit more of a diverse crowd, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, there were definitely people that expressed support for more of like the traffic moving version of the boulevard that some people favor. But I think it was pretty obvious, at least based on the people here in attendance tonight, that more people are supporting the narrower, slower, more pedestrian friendly and supposedly development friendly boulevard.
We've had some confusion, at least among some, as to who's got the final call on this. Is it ODOT or the city? What do you think?
The final call is ODOT, but they've made it as clear as they can that they're going to consider as much everything that the city tells them and that people tell them in the formal comment section. City officials so far, like Eric Winger, the Public Works Director, said tonight that ODOT has been pretty receptive to what the city's asked for so far, but it does seem like if there's ever going to be a tiebreaker, that ODOT is going to have the final say. Technically, the final say, though, will be from federal transportation officials because their funding is tied to their approval, but ODOT will make the final determination that serves as a recommendation in those documents.
Feds are really the unseen giant in the room, aren't they?
I think they always are.
All right, thank you for joining Michael Kimball and myself. Follow his City Hall beat for all things related to City Hall, the council, county government. For downtown development news, follow my coverage at OKC Central.